Welcome back to UGC Net English class. The topic of the last lecture was the Middle English poem written by Geoffrey Chaucer, the Book of the Duchess. With today's lecture, we will cover the biography of the famous Victorian novelist Charles Dickens. Charles Dickens was born in 1812 and he passed away in 1870. His full name was Charles John Hotham Dickens. Remember? His middle name, you remember? Charles John Hotham Dickens. And he used the pseudonym Boss, his family nickname. Boss was his family nickname, and sometimes, not always, but sometimes he used the nickname Boss in order to publish his works. And along with this name Boss, there was another name because these two people collaboratively written some works, and only those times they used the name Boss and Piss. So the other name Piss was the nickname used by another person, another writer, Hamlet Knight Brown. So Hamlet Knight Brown and Charles Dickens, when they collaboratively written some works, they used the pseudonyms Boss and Piss. So Boss was the nickname used by Charles Dickens, and Piss was the nickname used by Hamlet Knight Brown. Remember, it is important. Piss was the name of the writer Hamlet Knight Brown. And Charles Dickens' last name, Dickens, which originally the word meaning is double. Actually, it was first used by William Shakespeare in his play, The Merry Wives of Windsor. So Dickens, originally the word meaning is double. First used by William Shakespeare in The Merry Wives of Windsor. And Charles Dickens is considered the greatest novelist of the Victorian era. He has, in total written 15 novels, 5 novellas, hundreds of short stories, and also non-fiction articles. So 15 novels, 5 novellas, and hundreds of short stories. His style of writing was basically a picaresque novel tradition style, and he used the excessive use of melodrama and also the novel of sensibility. So we can say so novels were picaresque, modeled after the picaresque tradition of writing, and also we can see melodramatic elements and a novel of sensibility. So in short, we can say a mixture of fantasy and realism. More realistic than fantasy, but still using some fantasy elements. So mixture of fantasy and realism. And another special style of writing adopted by the writer Charles Dickens was his use of the excessive Cockney words, especially Cockney English grammar. He used too much rather than the normal English grammar. He used Cockney English words and grammar. So excessive use of Cockney English. Cockney is an accent and a dialect of English mainly spoken in London, particularly by a working class and a low middle class Londoners. So the Cockney dialect of English was used mainly by the Londoners, especially the working class and the lower middle class Londoners. Dickens introduced, or we can even say popularized, the use of over 250 words and phrases throughout his works. So these include flummox, humbug, butterfingers, scooch, The Creeps, Crossfire, Dustbin, Fairy Story, Slow Coach, Bush, etc. So he introduced, or even we can say he popularized some words and phrases. These include flummox, humbug, butterfingers, scooch, the creeps, crossfire, dustbin, fairy story, slow coach, push, etc. Charles Dickens' official biographer was Claire de Marlin. Remember, Claire de Marlin was his official biographer. And Charles Dickens was born in 1812 in Lansford in Portsea Island, Portsmouth, Hampshire, England. So he was born in Portsmouth, which is a place in Hampshire. Hampshire is in England. And his parents were John Dickens and Elizabeth Dickens. Elizabeth and John Dickens. And Charles Dickens' wife's name was Catherine Thompson Hogarth. Catherine Thompson Hogarth. And another, special thing was that his wife was also a writer for a while. For some time, she also contributed works of her own. So Catherine was also a published author. And she wrote under the pseudonym Lady Maria Clutterbuck. Lady Maria Clutterbuck. So remember the pseudonym used by Charles Dickens' wife, Catherine Thompson Hogarth, when she was, when she used to write. When she used to publish her works, she used the pseudonym Lady Maria Clutterbuck. Pseudonym used by Catherine Thompson Hogarth. Charles Dickens, was in love with another girl, another very young girl, Ellen Ternan. Ellen Ternan. Ellen Ternan was his love interest. But he was already married to Catherine Thompson Hogarth. So after his marriage, he met the girl Ellen Ternan and he fell in love with her. Charles Dickens left school at the age of 12 to work in a bootblacking factory. The name of the factory was Warren's Blacking Warehouse. When his father was incarcerated in a debtor's prison. His father was imprisoned, because he couldn't pay back his debt. So because of this reason, his father was imprisoned along with the family. So Charles Dickens had to leave his school early at the age of 12. And he went to work in a a shoe blackening factory, Warren's Blacking Warehouse, in order to support his family. But after 3 years, he returned to school before he began his literary career as a journalist. So then, after 3 years working in the bootblacking factory, he then again joined his school and completed his studies and then worked as a journalist. He worked as a clerk, a freelance reporter, etc. Dickens wrote his first story when he was around 9 years old. It was a tragedy, a short story called Misna, Sultan of India. So his first short story, unpublished story, was titled Misna, Sultan of India. But his first published short story was A Dinner at a Poplar Walk. A Dinner at a Poplar Walk, but his unpublished first written short story was Misna, Sultan of India. His published short story, A Dinner at a Poplar Walk. And his contribution to periodicals, first started with his work Sketches by Boss. Sketches by Boss started in 1836. He contributed to different, periodicals from 1836. And at first was the work Sketches by Boss. And he was a publisher, editor, and a major contributor to the journals Household Words all the year round. So remember the journal's name. He worked as a publisher, editor, and also a writer of the two famous journals, All the Year Round and Household Words. And Charles Dickens' literary success began with the 1836 serial publication of the Pickwick Papers. The book, the Pickwick Papers, that started publishing serially in 1836. And the most autobiographical novel of Charles Dickens was David Copperfield. So David Copperfield was the novel through which Charles Dickens shared most of his life's experience. Of course, we can see autobiographical elements in almost all of his novels, but the most autobiographical elements he had included in the book David Copperfield. And Charles Dickens is famous for cliffhanger endings. Cliffhanger endings means, especially in serial publications, publishing that come in the form of a series, or we can say in TV serials you can see this cliffhanger endings. That means when the serial ends, there will be a suspense element, so that the viewers will watch it the next day or the next edition. So that is the trick used in cliffhanger endings. There will be a suspense elements, and the readers have to wait till the next edition gets published. So the work would end with the words "to be continued." So when it comes, we will understand what was the thing that happened to the hero. So such a curiosity degenerates in the minds of a reader or viewer in order to keep them on a suspense element. And Charles Dickens' two historical fiction works are there. You have to remember the names: A Tale of Two Cities, and another work, Barnaby Rudge, A Tale of the Rights of 80. So two historical fiction works contributed by Charles Dickens include A Tale of Two Cities and a Barnaby Rudge, A Tale of the Rights of 80. Even the Queen Victoria, was really impressed with his works, and she read two of his novels, Oliver Twist and Pickwick Papers. Queen Victoria had read his works, Oliver Twist, the Pickwick Papers, etc. And Charles Dickens wrote another work, a play. The play was titled The Frozen Deep. It was a collaborated work with another novelist, Wilkie Collins. So with the writer Wilkie Collins, his contemporary, Charles Dickens wrote the play The Frozen Deep. He had to face a train accident, but he escaped from it. So this experience he uses in one of his short stories, The Signal Man. So Dickens used the experience of a train accident as material for his short story, a ghost story titled The Signal Man. Charles Dickens was very much, fond of pet animals. He had a pet dogs, a pet, birds and all. And he had a pet raven, which he called Grip. So he named his pet raven as Grip. And this raven appears in his novel Barnaby Rudge. So in his historical novel Barnaby Rudge, he uses the name of his pet raven, Grip. And Charles Dickens' last novel was The Mystery of Edwin Drood, which he couldn't finish. So it is an unfinished work, The Mystery of Edwin Drood. So Dickens had written half of the novel, The Mystery of Edwin Drood, but he left it unfinished. The famous Russian writer Leo Tolstoy was impressed with the writings of Charles Dickens. So Leo Tolstoy once referred to the novel David Copperfield as his favorite book, and he later adopted the novel as a model for his own autobiographical reflections. So Leo Tolstoy liked his work David Copperfield very much, and I used some of its elements for writing Tolstoy's own autobiography. Charles Dickens was a social worker, we can say. He loved charity works and all. So he built a house, a cottage, we can say, and titled it as Urania Cottage. Urania Cottage for the redemption of fallen women for the working class. For the poor working class women, he built a cottage and titled the cottage as Urania Cottage. Charles Dickens visited so many countries. He visited America more than once. He visited France. He visited Switzerland. And once when he visited France, he called the French people the first people in the universe. So he called the French people the first people in the universe. And another curious thing about Charles Dickens was that, along with some other authors like Arthur Conan Doyle and William Butler Yeats, Charles Dickens was a member of the Ghost Club. So remember, he was the member of a Ghost Club. So Ghost Club means a group that attempted to investigate supposed supernatural encounters and also some hauntings. So supernatural encounters and also some hauntings they investigated. So they were interested in such supernatural, occurrences, and often exposing frauds in the process. So remember, he was the member of a Ghost Club, along with W.B. Yeats and also Arthur Conan Doyle. Charles Dickens died of stroke in 1870. He died of stroke, and he was buried in the Poets' Corner of Westminster Abbey. The common themes we can see in the works of Charles Dickens include the lives of the working class people, social satire, child labor, poverty, social class, justice system, education system, etc. So the lives of the working class people often gets depicted in the works of Charles Dickens. And also we can see taking these issues with a social, satire attitude. And the issues of problems of child labor he used to depict. Then the problem of poverty. Then the problem comes from the, stratification of social class. Then a justice system. Then an education system, etc. And another important, idea, or what we can say, factor about Charles Dickens was that he had a certain amount of racistic attitude towards the people of other countries, towards the Indians and Africans and all. So we can't really call him a thoroughgoing racist and all, but he supported a certain amount of racistic idea. And also a certain amount of violence, use of violence he also supported, because he wanted to basically improve the condition of the lives of the people around the world. So for their, civilization mission, as per his version. So he also supported the civilization mission carried out, by the English people. And so that way he had, his own idea of racism. When you examine the UGC net English, previous question papers, you can see that this idea of Charles Dickens, this was, highlighted more than once. They asked this question more than once. So when you see some writers keeping a racistic attitude towards the people or people of another country, especially towards the Indians, Africans and all, you should concentrate on such writers and their observations about the people of other countries. So let's see what Charles Dickens, had his attitude towards the Indians. So following the Indian Mutiny of 1857, Charles Dickens joined in the widespread criticism of the East India Company for its role in the event, but reserved his fury for the rebels themselves, wishing that he was the commander-in-chief in India, so that he would be able to do my utmost to exterminate the race upon whom the stain of the late cruelties rested. So he was really sympathetic towards the Indians, but he wanted them to be civilized. So he supported violence also a little bit. And in another private letter, Charles Dickens wrote the following passage about Indians. You know faces when they are not brown. You know common experiences when they are not under turbans. Look at the dogs, law, treacherous, murderous, tigress villains. And Charles Dickens also called for the extermination of the Indian people and applauded the mutilation of the wretched Hindu who were punished by blown from the guns for the involvement in the Indian rebellion of 1857. So remember Charles Dickens' remarks on Indian people, because this question was asked more than once. So you have to remember the lines. And now let's analyze some of the famous writers' opinion about Charles Dickens as a writer or as a person. So as a person, William Wordsworth, really judged Charles Dickens as a very talkative person, a very talkative, vulgar young person, as per William Wordsworth's opinion. The famous Russian novelist Fyodor Dostoevsky commented that We understand Dickens in Russian. I am convinced, almost as well as the English, perhaps even with all the nuances. It may well be that we love him no less than his compatriots do, and yet how original is Dickens and how very English. According to Fyodor Dostoevsky. So once more, we understand Dickens in Russian. I am convinced, almost as well as the English, perhaps even with all the nuances. It may well be that we love him no less than his compatriots do, and yet how original is Dickens and how very English. Now let's be familiar with the works written by Charles Dickens. First of all, the Pickwick Papers. You have to remember the full title of the work. Always you will get one question to complete the full title of the work, subtitle of the work. So the Pickwick Papers' full title was The Posthumous Papers of the Pickwick Club. The Pickwick Papers or the Posthumous Papers of the Pickwick Club. Then Oliver Twist. Full title is The Adventures of Oliver Twist. Oliver Twist. Full title is The Adventures of Oliver Twist. Then Nicholas Nickleby. Full title is The Life and Adventures of Nicholas Nickleby. Then the book, The Old Curiosity Shop. Then Barnaby Rudge, Tale of the Whites of 80. So remember the subtitles. It is very, very important. Barnaby Rudge, A Tale of the Whites of 80. Next book, A Christmas Carol. So full title is A Christmas Carol in Prose, being a ghost story of Christmas. A Christmas Carol in Prose, being a ghost story of Christmas. Next book, Martin Chuzzlewit. Full title is The Life and Adventures of Martin Chuzzlewit. Next book, The Chimes. Full title is The Chimes, a goblin story of some bells that rang an old year out and a new year in. So remember the title, The Chimes, a goblin story of some bells that rang an old year out and a new year in. And the next book, The Cricket on a Hearth. Full title is The Cricket on the Hearth, a Fairy Tale of Home. So subtitle you should remember, The Cricket on the Hearth, a Fairy Tale of Home. Next book, The Battle of Life. Full title is The Battle of Life, a Love Story. So The Battle of Life, a Love Story. Next book, Dombey and Son. Dombey and Son. Full title is Dombey and Son, dealings with the firm of Dombey and Son, wholesale, retail, and for exportation. So dealings with the firm of Dombey and Son, wholesale, retail, and for exportation. Next book, The Haunted Man. The Haunted Man, The Ghost's Bargain, a fancy for Christmas time. So remember the full title, The Haunted Man and the Ghost's Bargain, a fancy for Christmas time. Next book is David Copperfield. The full title is The Personal History, Adventures, Experience and Observation of David Copperfield the Younger of Blunderstone Rockery, which he never meant to publish on any account. So this much, it is a long title, you should remember. The personal history, adventures, experience, and observation of David Copperfield, the younger of Blunderstone Rockery, which he never meant to publish on any account. Next book, A Bleak House, Hard Times, Little Dorrit, A Tale of Two Cities, Great Expectations, Our Mutual Friend, The Signal Man, Erwin Drood. So Erwin Drood's full title is The Mystery of Erwin Drood. In the upcoming classes, we have to take each of these works individually and discuss them in detail. So that's all for today. In the next class, we will deal with one of the plays written by William Shakespeare. That is, All's Well That Ends Well.